Welcome back everyone. So in the last video, we solved customers who bought all the product, which was question number 29 of SQL 50 series. And in this video, we are going to solve the number of employees which reports to each employee. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, so in this question, we are given a table, employees table, which has four column: employee ID, name, reports to, and age. It is given that employee ID is the column with unique values for this table. This table contains information about an employee and ID of the manager they reports to. Some employees do not report to anyone, which means that their reports to is null. For this problem, we will consider a manager an employee who has at least one other employee reporting to them. So a manager is an employee who has at least one other employees reporting to them, which means their reports to is not null. Okay. We have to write a solution to report the IDs, names of all managers. So we want IDs and name of managers, the number of employees who reports directly to them, the count of employees who report directly to these managers, the average age of the report rounded to nearest integer. So the average age is the age of employees, okay, who reports to their respective managers. We have to return the table ordered by employee ID. So let's understand the first example. So in this example, we have employee table which has four employees. Okay. So the employee with employee ID 9 reports to no one. Employee with employee ID 6 reports to employee with an employee ID of 9. So the employee with employee ID 6 has a manager with employee ID 9. For the 4, the manager is 9, and for the 2, the manager is no one. So these two entries are invalid because there is no manager for these employees for 9 and 2. Now for these two entries, we can see that employee with employee ID of 6 and 4 have manager with an employee ID of 9. So what we have to return is, we have to return ID and name of all manager. So 9 is manager because two-person, that is Alice and Bob, reports to 9. And who is 9? 9 is Hersey. So we have to return the ID and name of all managers. So 9 is manager. So manager ID is 9. Their name is Hersey. And how many employees report to this manager 9? There are two employees who report to manager Hersey. So the reports count is 2 and the average age of employees. So these are the two employees that report to manager with the employee ID of 9. Their age is 41 and 36 respectively. So the average will be 39. Similarly, let's see the example 2. In this example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 employees. Okay. And in which the first employee and the last two employees do not have any manager. So these are the employees who report to someone. So if someone report to someone, then that someone is a manager. Okay. So we have 1, 2 and 3 as a manager. So manager 1. So 1 has an employee ID of that one and Michelle is the name. So in the resulting output, we have Michelle as manager with reports count to 2. So Alice and Bob reports to 1, which means there are two employees who report to manager with employee ID of 1 and their employees average age is 40. Similarly, manager 2. So two people, Charlie and David, reports to 2, which means 2 is a manager. And 2 has the name of Alice and the report count is 2. Since 2 employee, that is Charlie and David reports to 2. So the reports count is 2 and average age of employees reporting to manager with employee ID of 2 is 37. Then there is other manager that is 3 and 3 has name of Bob. Report count is 1 since there is single entry, that is Eve reports to Bob. So report count is 1 and the average age is 37 itself because it's a single entry. So how should we approach the solutioning for this question? So you see in both the example, what we know is if the reports to is null, we can remove that entry from the resulting set because we know that if reports to is null, there is no manager for that employee. Now, for example, in this first example, these two entries will tell us who is the employee. So 9 is the employee, okay? And how many employees reports to 9? Two employees, that is Alice and Bob. So 9 is the entry here. So 9 is a manager and his name is Hersey. Okay, so you see we are referencing rows from this table to the same table. So this gives us a hint that we have to perform a join. But what sort of join? Left join, right join, inner join, or what? And that we'll see. So let me write the query first. So we'll have to join these two tables. That's confirmed. So first select everything from employees, let's say E, comma, again the same table, employee double E. So first let's see the result of this query. So we will see obviously 4 multiply 4, that is 16 rows. Okay, so these rows are truncated, but there is a total of 16 rows. Now the problem is that what condition should we apply so that we get the desired output. So you see, if you want to know their managers, see, these are the two rows, and in these two rows you know that the manager is 9, and to know the information about the manager you have to see the row with an employee ID of 9, that is this row. What if I append the first row in front of these two rows? So let me show you. These two rows shows that their manager is an employee with an employee ID of 9. Now what if I copy this row and paste this row in front of these two queries? So now what this table, like these two queries shows? This shows that Alice and Bob reports to 9, and we have their respective entry in front of them. So this is entry for 9. So 9 is a manager for Alice and Bob, and the manager has a name that is Hersey. Okay, and how many people like reporting to this Hersey? So since we have two entries, which means Alice and Bob reports to Hersey, and the count is 2. So the condition will be we matched this to this, which means this to this. So for each entry, if the reports to in the first table is equal to employee ID in the second table, then we will get rows like this. Okay, so we'll write like where E dot reports to is equal to E dot reports to. And now what will be the other condition? So for example, this will be one of the entries from the E table, that is first table. Okay, how will you match this entry for the right table, that is EE table? So will you write the same, that is E dot reports to, that is null, and you know that this entry is even not required in the resulting because we will not be having any manager to the right side. Okay, so the right table will be having null, and we even don't need these entries. Okay, so we can remove this entry by writing that E dot reports to is not null. Okay, so that's the condition. So let me run the query again. So after joining, we found out that Bob and Alice reports to 9, and the information about the 9 is in the right table. Okay, so now we can select the desired information, but let's see for the test case 2. So in this case, we have 1, 2, and 3 as the managers. So let's see the result. So this is the output table. So managers are 1, 2, and 3. So Bob and Alice reports to manager with an employee ID of 1, and the information about 1 is on the right side. Okay, similarly for the other managers. Now see the output of this query. You see we have to like extract the desired information as asked in the question. That is, we want the ID and name of all managers. So who is the manager in this table? These are the managers 1, 2, and 3, and the information about the manager is in the right table. So we want the ID, that is 1, their name, that is Michelle. Then we want other informations like the number of employees who directly report to them. So this is manager, and how many employees reporting to 1? 2 employees, Bob and Alice. Okay, then the other information is the average age of the reports rounded to nearest integer. So average age of reports, which means average age of Bob and Alice. So we have to group the result of this query by reports to. Okay, so this will be one group, this will be another group, and this will be the third group. So we have to group by what? Reports to, but reports to exist in both the tables, that is first table and second table. So we'll have to take it from the first table because second table reports to can be null. Now, why for the first table only? Because the first table we have written a condition that e dot reports to is not null. So in the first table, e dot reports to will never be null. And since right table has information about the managers, their managers may or may not report to other managers. So for example, Charlie has manager 2. Okay. And the information about 2 is here. Now, Charlie's managers report to 1. Okay. So which means a manager has his own manager. So for example, Bob reports to 1. So 1 is a manager. This is the manager. But this manager, Michelle, do not reports to anyone. So that's the condition we have written. All we want is that e dot reports to is not null. The right table shows the information about the managers, and the reports to shows that these employees are reporting to these managers. So we group by these reports to from the first table, that is e table. Also, we are asked to return the result order by what? Employee ID. An employee ID exists in both the tables. But whose employee ID should we select from the resulting table? From the question, it is given that report the IDs of the managers. So should we select employee ID this or employee ID this? This is the employee ID of managers. This is the employee ID of employees. So we have to select these employee ID. So we have to order by what? E dot employee ID, and we have to select this same in the select statement. So we have to select employee ID and the name. So name exists in both the table. Which name we want? We want the name of manager, that is ee dot name. Then the third requirement is report count. Report count is nothing but count of entries in this group as reports count. Okay, then we want the average age, so that will be average of what? Employees average age. So these are the employees and their age is this one. So we want average of e dot age, not ee dot age. Ee dot age will give average of manager's age, but we want average of employees age as average age. One more thing that we missed out is rounded to the nearest integer. We want to round this average age to the nearest integer, which means we have to round this age to 0. Okay, now let me run this query. Okay, that's average age. Okay, so our test case has been passed. Now we'll try to submit this to see if the solution can pass all the test case or not. Okay, so all the test case has been passed. Okay, so let me explain the query once again. So what we did was we just joined the employees table with itself, and we made sure that the information about their respective managers come ahead of that entries. So for example, Alice has manager 9. So information about this manager will be after this same entry, so that we can get the information about that manager in our select query. So that we did by writing that e dot reports to is ee dot employee ID. And the other condition is that e dot reports to is not null, which means that if this entry has reports to null, which means her C do not have any managers, which means that we don't require such entries in our resulting output. Then we group by e dot reports to. The first tables reports to. So this will be the first table, and in this we have this manager IDs. So by doing so, we grouped all the resulting table by the manager so that we can count the number of employees. And then we ordered it by e dot employee ID. That's it. Thank you.